I think it's finally time that our Supra gets its new frame. If you're just joining us, we bought this crumpled up Supra from auction for $5,500. In the first two videos, we gutted the interior, we gutted the front end, and in last video, we cut the frame off the front end and opened all of these boxes to reveal all of these new parts. And the first thing we gotta do is straighten out the existing frame on the Supra, because straight stuff and curved stuff doesn't equal straight. It's like negatives in multiplication. Positive plus negative equals negative. We want two positives so the frame is straight, and that's the best explanation I can do for you. So we have to straighten out this existing frame, and the same thing on this other side, we have to straighten this out. Currently, my plan for pulling those frame pieces are these two doohickeys here. One of them, this top one, is called a come along, and this bottom one is called something else. I don't know, it's a clamp. This come along here says it can pull up to like 5 tons, 4 tons or something. So I definitely think that'll pull it. Okay, so that solves our pulling problem. Second problem is how do we not pull it off the jack stands? And 4 tons of force could easily slide this car forward and off the jack stands. A creative solution you can find online is to use a tree to pull against. However, the Supra only has 2 wheels and I don't really feel like getting it over to this tree. Which brings me to my creative solution, and that's to use my skid steer as something to pull against. And then I'm going to brace with either a 4x4 or some wood to brace in between the Supra and skid steer so that they don't pull themselves together. Whether that'll work, we'll see. So problem 1 was how do we pull? That was the come along. Problem 2, what do we pull against? I'm gonna use my skid steer. Problem 3, how do we keep them separated? I'm gonna use some wood. So finally, problem 4 is I don't really have the room right now to pull the skid steer in, which brings us finally to the first activity we're gonna do this video, and that's separate the engine from the transmission to get it on the engine stand so I can move it out of the way. What a long-winded way for me to say we're gonna start this video by getting the engine on an engine stand, huh? But I felt like I should explain it. I really enjoy this whole snapping thing, so we're gonna go ahead and clean this all up. And now I have plenty of room to work. Looks like I'm gonna have to raise it up to get to the starter bolts. There we go. Whew. Okay, bottom panel off, starter is unplugged. There we go. Okay, just got the starter off. Usually bell housing bolts hold starters to the engine and transmission, but in this case, it's just got 2 bolts on this side and 1 bolt inside of this rubber sleeve. So 3 bolts holding the starter to the engine and transmission, none of which are bell housing bolts. There we go. Okay. Transmission's off. Now, just need to take the torque converter off and we can get the engine on an engine stand. Okay, now to take off the torque converter, I need to turn the engine over. So I'm gonna take out the spark plugs. Just so we don't have any compression, it's a little bit easier to turn it around just because we're hanging and I'm not mounted solidly, I would say. Solid suction. Okay, I don't see anything in the spark plug holes. That makes me feel better, no water or oil in there. Spark plugs look pretty normal. Nothing on the engine scaring me yet. Just mounting this temporarily so we have a place to turn the engine so we can take off the torque converter. Now the real question is the engine gonna turn over? I haven't tested this yet. Okay, all right, engine turns over, which means we can turn the engine over to expose our that means we can turn the engine over to expose our That means we can turn our engine over to expose our torque converter That means we can turn our engine over to expose our torque converter bolt so we can take it off and mount our engine to the engine stand. Man, I need to start including bloopers in my YouTube videos because that took me like 5 times to say. to say. See, I still can't talk. If you guys watched my BMW series, I guess this is still a BMW. If you guys watched my last BMW series, you would have seen that I had to use like a boroscope, a little tiny camera to show you the torque converter bolts because you have to go through a little hole to get to them. This engine, the B58, I do not have to go through a little hole to get to the torque converter bolts. They are right where the starter is. So you take the starter off and you have amazing access to your torque converter bolts. That gets you an A+ from me, BMW. Good work. However, I'm not gonna place my camera underneath the engine while I'm working on it. That sounds like a really expensive mistake to make. So you guys are gonna sit right here and watch me take it off. All right, last bolt. I got the jack supporting the weight here. All right. Okay, I got our transmission and our torque converter tucked away in the corner here. We won't be needing those for a while, but now we can get our engine on the engine stand. There we go. All right, weight is on the engine stand here. You know, for some reason, this feels like an achievement in its own. It's gonna be a while before we work on the engine and before we use the hoist to put it back in. So we're just gonna get them out of the way so I can get the skid steer in here so we can continue working on the frame. Okay, and this path should be enough for the skid steer to get back here and use the skid steer as an anchor point to pull this straight. I suppose let's try it. Okay, new plan here. Skid steer, not very versatile. Four-wheeler, a little more versatile. Here's what we're gonna try. No clue if this is gonna work. We're gonna try it. We're gonna ratchet. Brace. All right, that's kind of working actually. While I'm pulling it, relieve the tension. Pretty good for now. Let me release the tension. All right, this side's looking pretty good. I think I still need a little bit more adjusting here and a tiny bit here. But I really want to see how that other side is going to turn out because that'll determine if I have to buy that piece or not. So I'm going to move to that side and do the same thing. It's important for me to mention that this really doesn't have a lot of tension on it. This isn't a thick piece and it doesn't require a lot to pull it. But we got a little bit of tension, so let's start hitting it and let's watch it transform. All right, you might not remember what it looked like before, but I'll show you. Here's the before and an after. You can see that turned out way better than I personally thought it was gonna. We still don't know if it's perfect. We'll have to do some test fitting of the frame rail to make sure. Well, I'd say for funsies, let's put this side of the frame on and see what happens. Shoot, I think this side's a little bit closer than the other side even, but let's put the other side on. Now don't get too excited. This is very, very temporary. We still have a lot of prep work to do, a lot of sanding, a lot of grinding, a lot of cutting, a lot of hole punching. Yeah, the list goes on. There's a lot to do, but this is a taste of our straight frame. It looks so cool. All right, it is good to be back. It has actually been a week and a half since you last saw me. We decided to film a Teaching My Wife episode, and then I had to edit that, and then I was in a wedding, yada, yada, yada. Here we are a week and a half later. I haven't touched the Supra. We're changing the plan just a little bit. This wire harness is just so in the way. I gotta get rid of it. Should have did it from the beginning, but as you see, it goes through the firewall here, and I was already playing around with this side, and it actually really easy, just pops out. All right, now I think you can see me. Just gonna quick reach in here and pop it out. Bada boom. Now I just gotta feed all the wires through. Super easy peasy. Okay, now we can very carefully feed this through. I tried to keep so much of this car together, or as much of the car together as possible, and we ended up just taking it all apart. Okay, future reference me. I gotta keep this in the video so I can put this back together right. The one with the black tape went on the right side. Boop, like that. Got it? Can you see that? Don't forget. Look how much nicer that looks. I should have did that a long time ago. No more wires hanging on the ground, except for those and those brake lines. But much cleaner, much easier to access everything up here. Sadly, that was the easy part. The main goal was to not have all of these wires laying on the floor. So I'm hoping to leave it attached to the floor on the side there and just kind of drape it over this back section. It gets it out of the way up here so I can work on the firewall and the floor. So let's get to it. Whew, all right, just getting that mat out of the way helped a lot. Okay, other side. I think that is all of it. Let's see how this goes here. I might have to take the headliner off. Listen, I'm gonna have to take the headliner off anyway to repair the quarter panel. So if I have to take the headliner off, it's not a big deal. Also, the airbags on the side. The headliner has to come off anyway. I was just hoping not right now. You know, like trying to repair the frame, not take apart more of the car. Okay. All right, I'm gonna look up how to take the headliner off. See if it's hard. All right, listen, we all got a little bit of ADHD in us, right? I'm gonna take this glass off because it's so easy to take off. Now this is how you properly do this. I Googled it. You shatter the glass and then pull and cut yourself on the glass. Ooh, it's really sticky right there. I feel like this is just gonna shatter when I take it off. Oh! You know, this is what I get for being weird and randomly wanting to take my glass off. Well, if you couldn't tell, that was my first time taking out some glass and I made a mess. Random idea in my head. I think next time I'm taking out shattered glass, I'll like duct tape it so that it somewhat stays together and I don't just cover the ground in glass and the interior. Random ADHD, just figured out how to take the glass out, why not? But now we have to take more of the interior part. I don't really want to. I'm trying to repair the frame for you guys, but here I am doing more disassembly. I need to take the headliner out so that I can peel back the wiring more to get it out of the way. And in order to do that, I basically have to just disassemble the rest of the interior. All right, back the next day. Next up, more disassembly. More disassembly. I'm going to basically take the rest of the interior out. One, I haven't mentioned this to you guys yet, but I bought an entire new chassis harness because I'm missing the rear section, I'm missing the front section, I'm missing the center console section. So finding all of the connectors that I need and buying all the individual connectors with wires to replace it all was literally the same price as buying an entire chassis harness. I have to make sure that the new chassis harness has all the matching functions like keyless entry and front radar sensor, front impact sensors, that kind of stuff. And I might have to combine them to make one good chassis harness for this car. I'm gonna have to take the headliner off to replace airbags. I'm gonna have to take the headliner off and these plastic pieces to replace this quarter panel. I'm gonna have to take the rest of the interior out to fix the floor. So it's time for it to come out. So let's get started. Now I'm gonna have to take this bar off to get the rest off. So I gotta do the same thing to the other side quick. Oh look, I can just go out this window. I took that window out just for this reason. Look at that. You guys doubted me. I knew I needed to take that window out. Now technically I wouldn't have to take anything else off for the headliner, but I think I'm just gonna take this all out because I'm gonna be welding and then I don't have to worry about it. All right, both sides are off. Last but not least, the centerpiece. Okay, and there we go. So I heard you guys like when I tear stuff apart. You know, you don't want to see me put stuff back together. So I figured I'd just keep tearing stuff apart. We have so much of this interior out, it's nuts. It's literally wires for the front, speakers in the back. This is actually really, really good that we took this apart. One, I learned more about the car. Like, there's a fuse box back here, our tow hook, and some tire inflator stuff. So, you know, that's neat. Even more important, on the other side, I believe this is our amplifier. Taking a guess there, but look at this. I don't know why that's like that. There's nothing holding it in, but that definitely would have been causing a huge rattle back here. So I would have had to take all of this apart just to get to this anyway. So it's all worth it in the end, you know what I mean? I'll still have to take the sound deadening out on this side, so when I'm welding this corner panel, I don't set it on fire. Okay, it is officially Memorial Day weekend. So I have Monday off, and I have a free and clear weekend. That gives me 3 days to try to get something accomplished on this car so I can get a video out to you guys. Some complications: one, I sound a little nasally, I'm a little sick, that shouldn't be a problem. Two, the big problem, I hurt my back yesterday rock climbing. So in these clips, you might notice that I look like an old man because I can't bend over. But I can't let being a little sick or hurting my back ruin this weekend for this car because I have so much work to do. I mean, basically at this point, I have to just finish completely disassembling the interior. It was not in my original plan, but the more I dig in, the more I see that if I welded on that quarter panel, I would have started a fire. There's a lot of sound deadening back there. If I gut the entire car, there's nothing left to take off, and I'll have no more excuses. So let's get to it. Now I found a nice 3,500 page PDF on doing most of the work on a Supra, and I've been following that on how to remove most of the interior. Next up, we're working on the headliner. Okay, got this side off. There. Go. There we go. Lamp assembly off. Okay, next up we take off these microphones. There we go. So the microphone stays in for now. Same thing with these lights. So instructions say the last piece I have to remove is the rear view mirror cover. Oh, yeah, it's literally that easy. So I think we're ready to take this off. Let's get out of here. Okay, so for the rest of the headliner, we just have 2 bolts in the back, 1 on each side, these 2 clips in the center, and then apparently you're supposed to actually take it out the door. So you like drop it down, turn it a little bit, and twirl it out the door. So hopefully that's fun and easy to do. Okay, rear bolts are out. Time to get these center clips out. I don't think I do. I think I slide it back. Oh, okay. Nope, you just pull. Okay, headliner is detached in the front.
There we go, got the rear ones out. There we go, so now it's forward and down, and we bring this corner out first. And rotate. Getting stuck on all the wiring we've previously taken off. And a bada boom. And it's that easy. Headliner out, boys. Next up, I'm sick of these airbags dangling in my face, so I'm gonna get them off. All right, yeah, there's just two little metal tabs on the inside, and you can do one at a time, nice and easy. Oh yeah, old airbag out. See, all of this work I would have had to do regardless. I had to get all of it out of the way to replace our airbags. And all of that work was just so I could detach the wires from the roof and move all of these wires to the back. So after all that, let's finally do it. Now that is a sight to be seen. That is literally 90% of the wiring for this car, and it does fit in the trunk at least. And finally, this is why we did all that work. Look how nice and clean it looks up here. I mean, you know, ignore all the holes that I made. This is gonna make it so much easier, and actually on that note, it's gonna make it possible to work up here. Before, with all that wiring, there was no way I was going to be able to sand, cut, weld, paint, do any work that I needed to do up here. And now I guess it's finally time that we do the whole point of this video, and that's repair the frame. So I guess we start sanding and cutting and welding. Well, I did an oops and I forgot to push the record button. So let me catch you up with what I've been talking to myself about for the past gosh dang 20 minutes. Okay, here is our transmission cross member. It's bolted in loosely, so you know, don't mind this huge gap. However, there is a gap to mind. So you'll see I already made a cut here. That'll give you a hint of what's going on in the future. That's the part that I already explained but forgot to push record. So if you look, when I push this up, we make contact on this front side before we make contact with this back side. That's because during the wreck, you can see this bent up metal here. We bent this front bolt location down. So my plan is I'm going to make this cut that I've already made so that I can manipulate this metal so that it's back flat and back up into its normal location. And then once this is in the correct location, I can bend this back into the correct location, weld it back together, and our transmission mount will be back to operational. And now you can watch me make this cut that I've already made. And now that that cutting is done, I'm going to try and flatten this piece out. Don't know how well it's gonna go, but I gotta try. All right, I don't think that's gonna work out. I don't wanna have to replace this entire rail all the way back, especially when only that transmission mount section's bad. I'm gonna buy the whole piece and then cut and weld the transmission mount back in. I think that's our best plan. That'll make sure, because this is supposed to be like flat and it's in here and out there. I'm not gonna be able to make it straight again. It's going to be better for the car if I buy this rail and then cut and weld the new transmission piece in. So let's quick walk over to this laptop and see how much that piece is gonna be. Well, it seems it's actually more expensive than I thought. So you can see here at the top, number 10, that is the drive shaft mount loop thing that I bought. I already have that piece. And number 1 here, the center support, as they call it, that's the piece I need. And if we go down and we look at the right side, $242. I'll add it to the cart and we'll get it on the way. So we have a plan for the transmission mount repair. It's gonna be a lot easier to repair that when we have a fresh new piece as a template. We can bolt the transmission on the good side and we can bolt our new piece on the bad side, and we'll know exactly where it's supposed to go, and we can use the transmission mount as a template. So I'm thinking about this frame repair in 3 sections. 1, drive shaft loop. 2, transmission mount. 3, the front frame rails. That'll be fun. So we just got a plan for repairing this section here. That's where our transmission mount goes. So let's move back a little bit and let's start fixing up our drive shaft loop So I'm gonna cut these and go cut them out on some sheet metal. Bada boom. We did it, boys. We disassembled more of the car. But there we go. We have our massive hole cut. See, that one doesn't look too bad now, right? Because that's just hammer it, weld it back together. But that area was way too messed up. It'll be way better for me to just patch it in. Now, I'm sure you guys have all heard this meme or joke before called CAD. Well, I got bent over my old man body. When you're not good with actual CAD, you use cardboard aided design instead of computer aided design. So I'm gonna insert this cardboard into that hole, and then I know what size it should be, and then I cut my actual sheet metal to the size of the cardboard, put it in the hole, weld it, done, easy. So I'll show you the result of the CADs in a second. Okay, got my CAD done. I got hole 1 and hole 2. And we have my nice and rusty sheet metal that's been sitting in my garage for years. Now, it's really simple. You just put your CAD on your sheet metal and you trace it out. Top and bottom, 2 squares to cut, weld them in the car. Let's cut it. Now, I highly recommend using a vice grip to hold your stuff while you cut it, but my workbench is now a parts bench. So anyway, I'm gonna cut on the floor. I got a nice 4x4 block of wood, and I'll get some pliers to hold it and cut one-handed, and it'll be fine. Now, I cannot recommend that you do this. 1, because it's stupid, and 2, because it's really stupid. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just, clean my parts bench and make it back into a tool bench. Until then, we're gonna try this. Okay, that's that piece there. You can see, kind of matches it. Push it away because it's hot. Now we got, cut the other side. Not bad, right? I mean, you just vice grip, 4x4, and you just gotta have grip strength to hold that and not let it kill you. Highly not recommended, but we're done. Now I'm just gonna prep these. I don't know when I weld them in, hopefully tomorrow, but I'm gonna get the sharp edges off, sand the rust off, and get a weld through primer on these. Okay, look at that. Nice and shiny. Got the edges so they're not sharp. Now let's get a coat of primer on them so they don't rust again. We got our 2 patch panels nice and painted up, which means it's finally time that we start prepping the car for welding. We got 2 patch panels to weld. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to fix the transmission tunnel in this episode, and we have all of these holes to fill from when we were drilling out or grinding out spot welds. Like hours of grinding, sanding, straightening, so that we can weld just to grind it all back down flat again. Let's do it. Okay, this is just to show you what we're going for here. So we have, you know, like this small little hole here, and I have the paint around it sanded away. So the goal is, wherever a hole is, to sand the paint away, sand the thin metal away so I can weld it back together. This is my least favorite part of the car, right here. This is where I was tired and I did not know the power of an air hammer, and I could not see this area, and I made a huge gash here. But we will fix it, we will fill it. We got all those small holes up top, sanded away, and just to show you from the front. So we have it all sanded, nice and ready for welding. Even though these aren't holes, they are where I sanded too deep, so I will fill them and sand them smooth, just like all of the holes. So this nice, shiny, clean metal is the goal. I just have to do this side. Okay, here we have it. Both sides are sanded down, super clean, super smooth. Even the rails all the way back, both sides. And look, even the interior is sanded and ready. Don't even have to walk around. I can show you through the firewall. So now, all of that grinding, guess what? Not even done grinding. The reason being, as soon as I fill these holes, I'm gonna have to grind them smooth again. But we are finally ready to start filling all the holes I made. So I'm going to clean up. It's very dirty, very dusty, lots of tools, and I'm gonna get my welder out. Now I'm sure you could have guessed based on my clutch Northern tool welder here, I'm not a professional welder. But when it comes to MIG, I think I'm good enough to get the job done. So I'm gonna start on the bad side, see how it goes. Well, here's the concept. Concept is fill the hole, or in this case, these were divots, right? I didn't go all the way through. Sand it back smooth. Not going as well up here in the really thin stuff. I'm gonna have to get some copper plating to use as backing to help dissipate the heat and give me something to weld to. That being said, I don't have copper plates and I can't find any locally in stores. And tomorrow's Labor Day, meaning I don't think my local welding shops are gonna be open, but I'm gonna call and ask. So I guess we call it a night and try to get copper plating to use as backing tomorrow. Hopefully, even though it's Labor Day, hopefully a store is open. I doubt it, but I'm gonna try. If they're not open, I'm gonna do everything I can without it. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, well, let's have a talk. I hate to say it, but the frame isn't going on in this video because I found more damage. Let's check it out. So the damage, let's talk about this quarter panel. So again, the obvious damage, quarter panel where it's up by the roof is damaged, and the quarter panel where the door closes is damaged here. Now I was hoping to just replace this section, right? Cut it on this section, cut it right here, and just replace the back half. To be honest, I was sitting here contemplating my life decisions with this car, and I noticed more damage right here. If you look, it's flush until right here, and then it's not flush. Wishful thinking would be that this plastic piece is broken, but it's not. This is bent, and it's bent a lot. Now, Toyota only sells the quarter panel in this giant piece, so I already have this piece. I was just hoping to not have to take off literally the entire half of the car, but if you look, this is nice and flat the whole way, and ours is not. Meaning I no longer can just replace this back half section. I have to replace all the way up to here, which I might as well just replace the whole thing at this point. I have to replace the entire quarter panel before we can put the interior back in because I'm gonna have to weld and it's gonna set the car on fire. This is turning out to be just so much gosh dang work, huh? So I hate to disappoint, but there's just too much work to do to put the frame on in this one video. I feel like I haven't accomplished a lot in this video. I'm actually very curious. Let me know in the comments, would you rather see just weekly updates, regardless of how long the video is, regardless of how much I get done? Or would you rather me keep this format where sometimes I'm a week late, sometimes I'm 2 weeks late? You know, in this case, in that mindset, it might even take me another 2 weeks, 3 weeks. What if it takes me a month to get this frame on? Would you rather me just not post until we have some sort of huge progress? Or would you rather see weekly updates? You let me know in the comments. I love your guys' opinion. On that note, in order for me to take the quarter panel off, I gotta take the rear bumper off, the tail light off. I probably have to take the rear hatch off, and then the fender liner. Okay, it's been like 10 minutes, took a little break. I'm a little less depressed now. See, I recover quick. You guys wonder how I work on these psychopath projects. It's because I recover from depression at astronomical speeds. So, I don't know what the goal is for the end of the episode anymore. I'm gonna start with the bumper and tail lights. Let's get it done. One nice thing, if we did switch to, I just kind of post weekly updates, is you guys would see me more often. Just kidding. The real benefit is I could just work on the car and get stuff done without hyper focusing on one thing. Rear bumper immediately takes off something that's not the rear bumper. Oh, I'm psychotic, guys. I don't know what I'm doing. I've been keeping this a secret, but we're probably gonna have to drop the rear subframe too to replace our brake lines and fuel lines. God, I like this car. What's super fun about looking at this wheel liner is that it's covered in rubber, which means previous owner liked to burn some rubber. Some burnouts perhaps, donuts maybe? Maybe he was a cop, maybe he liked donuts. Keith likes donuts. Oh, look, one was so covered in rubber, I didn't even see it there. There we go, come on out. Cool, all right. That gets us to taking off our bumper here. After that, looks like the bumper is ready to come off. Whew. Man, those are tough clips, but yeah, you just pull. Let me get this taillight off so I don't drop it and break it. Oh, a phone call. I'm in the middle of taking my taillight off. Remember, bumper's already broken, don't really care about it. Or I'd be a little more gentle with it. But it's off. Care more about this tail light than the bumper. Okay, tail lights and bumper off. All right, let's take this crash bar off, see if there's any more damage back here that I didn't know about. Whew. Okay, well that is trash. Pretty symmetrical back here, except for this bent piece here. So like this comes out, little dent here, and a little dent here. But those are fine, that's not gonna affect where anything lines up. I need to paint here just so it doesn't rust. Obviously, all the damage was in the front, and this crash bar definitely did its job and protected the rear of the chassis. So I think the new goal for the end of this video is just to disassemble the rest of the car entirely, so I have nothing left to disassemble, and I can literally only go back up from where I am, which would mean get the rest of this plastic off, maybe take the door off, maybe take the hitch off, get the rest of the wiring out. Bare chassis, literally nothing left. I think that'd be pretty cool. let's do it. So another way that I can verify that we don't really have any severe damage here is you can see that this old crash bar does not go on. Right, very bent. Brand new crash bar, however, this is brand new. This isn't even eBay used. This is fresh off the press. Slides on perfectly. So I don't think any new surprises back here. Yeah, some heat shield issues, lots of wiring issues, lots of plastic issues, but overall, good to go. All right, next up, let's get to see, I want to get all the wires off of this. I think I mentioned to you guys I have a whole new wire harness. The more I look at this new harness, the more broken wires I find. Like for instance, just found another piece of wire missing its plug. We will most likely just use the entire new wire harness as long as it matches. Okay, other fender liner. There we go. Okay, heat shielding and stuff is in the way. Let's get rid of it. That's all the rear heat shielding off. Every day this car strays further away from being a car. Okay, next step on taking off the subframe, we're going for the rear shocks. Also, BMW, I love this. Bolts on the bottom, I don't have to go through the top. Mwah, I love that stuff. 3,000 miles on the car, so all the bolts come off. I also love that. I don't think there's really gonna be a good spot for my jack. I don't think it's ever gonna be balanced. So we're gonna go right here. Jack stand out. Now I think there's only 6 bolts. 4 in the front, no, sorry. 8 bolts, 3 on the front on each side, and then 1 in the back, I think. So let's do it. You guys watch from the safety of wherever you are. Stay there. If it falls on me, just call 911 and it'll be okay. Now, super nice thing. I can get to all bolts without being under the vehicle. So let's go. Okay, now I'm not sure the best way to do this. I'm gonna loosen it just a little bit, maybe, not all the way out. Okay, this is actually all the way out. I'm gonna have to lower this really slowly. Man, I kinda wish I had a third jack to keep the front level. I think when I start lowering it, it's gonna tip forward. That's my prediction. We will see what happens. Oh yeah, okay. It definitely tipped forward, like I said. Both my jacks are just holding it up right now. I moved this jack forward. Oh, shit. Oh boy. Okay, I'm sure this is gonna fail spectacularly, but we're gonna do it anyway. I checked, double, triple checked. I don't think there's anything left connected, so we're gonna just kind of wing it. I think it's gonna fall and be dramatic, but hopefully nothing breaks. Okay, wish me luck. If I never post this video, it's because I died. It actually stayed. That's perfect. I can get out of the way and try to lower this equally. Oh, woo! The whole car is falling still. Oh no, it's still so rear heavy that it falls backwards even without the subframe. No way. Look, subframe's not even connected and it still falls. I need this jack back. Okay, bracing the rear of the car. Let me check for any other snags since it's a little bit lower now. There is another wire over there right in the middle. There's a bunch of stuff that plugs into the rear. Now I gotta crawl underneath it while it's half falling out and try to unplug stuff. That's great. Okay, don't do this at home, kids. Oh, there we go. Everything disconnected. So back to lowering. Woo! That's pretty successful. No clash, no bang. Okay, roll out, please. Yeah, kinda. Not really rolling. Bend pack, listen, I know your rule. Guys, let me let you in on a little secret. It's not a secret, you can find it, it's public knowledge. Bend pack for a free lift. Now, they do discounts for smaller subs, but for a free lift, you need 1 million subs. I'm really far away from that, but bend pack, hear me out. Look at what I'm doing, man. There we go. Now we're on the rollers really good. Oh yeah. And I'm gonna leave it on the rollers for next time. Right there. All right, onward. Rear subframe is off, out of the way. We go forward. Bada boom. All right, let's keep going. This looks like our evap purge system. Don't want none of them toxic gas fumes anywhere. There we go. I wish I knew how much gas was left in our fuel tank. Just getting lines and hoses off down here. All right, next up, let's drop the fuel tank, boys. Now we do still have wires connected to the top, I believe. Maybe not, maybe they just go over the top. Okay, I'm gonna take off the fuel filler neck. Pray that there's no fuel at this height. Oh, a little bit. Oh man, there's a lot of gas in that tank. That's not good. There we go. Fuel filler is off. You know, I'm gonna transfer some out, actually. Look how much fuel is in there. I just stick that hose in and it just pours out. There must be a flap. I bet this tank is literally completely full. And when I put this hose in there, there's just a flap, like a trap door I'm just opening. Gee whiz, this tank is completely full. Oh no. All right, got a nice little siphon going for the fuel. There's a lot in there, and I'm only gonna be able to drain one side because there's a hump in the tank, but you know, the less weight, the better. You ever seen green fuel? You know, it might be a tint. It might be more tinted from the container it's in, but that definitely looks like Mountain Dew. Shout out to the guy on eBay who sent me a bunch of shirts as packaging when I bought a headlight. I appreciate it. They will be put to good use because there's a lot of fuel on the ground. If I get to be a big YouTuber, I should open a P.O. box where you guys just send me your shirts and I use them as rags. Okay, here we go. I emptied a lot of the tank out. I think 5.5 gallons of fuel. So let's lower it a bit. Okay, lowered it a little bit. Now I'm gonna check for, oh look, here's another wire. All I can see for now, let's go down more. There's a hose. I disconnected it. It's just going through this hole here, so that's fine. It'll come right out. Oh, uh-oh. Oh, there we go, okay. Took that hose off and it slid right down. Whoops. I gotta take the wires out from inside, down and around and out through there. Okay, gotta take the power lines out to get the brake lines out. And I also have to disconnect these. There's wires that go out through the fender, down and over the gas tank, and then up through here to connect to these. So if you needed to replace that wire loom, you'd have to drop so much. That's nuts. All right, let's start with the battery so I know I keep switching back and forth. This has probably been one of the most confusing videos for you guys to follow. I'm just doing so much all over, all the time. It's like, Jordan, can you finish one task? Nope. All right. Battery's out, power cables are out, those wires are out. Let's go back underneath. Okay, can get all these wires out of the way. I can take our brake line off. Okay, real quick, we just take this out one-handed and unplug it. Can you tell I already did that? I had to put it back in, I forgot to film it. Okay, time for these power wires. Bam! The power wires that went to the front of the car, they've been dangling around, getting in my way this whole time. And now they're finally out of the way. Now we're getting these wires out from underneath the car and into the car so that they're in the way inside of the car. That makes sense. Yeah. Boom. Now these wires. Oh, they're gonna be a little harder. All right, I just took our box of Toyota or slash BMW tools out. That in. Bam. Okay, last wiring that's outside of the vehicle. Bada bing. Okay, I'm gonna call it a night because I wanna get everything that's inside of this car out and probably take the hatch off and probably take the door off. And then that would literally mean that it is a bare chassis. There's nothing left to do. But it's gonna take me a couple hours to do it and don't wanna commit to it right now because I'm tired. So I'll be right back. Literally, I'll be right back. All right, Tuesday, next day, my goal to finish this video on Memorial Weekend didn't pan out. That's okay though. Because the last thing I want to do in this video is get this interior out, maybe the hatch, maybe the door, because that'll mean literally nothing left to take off this car. Take off as in unbolt. I'll still have to cut this quarter panel off and I'll still have to do some cutting to the transmission tunnel, but there will be no more bolts until the frame is on and we're ready to go back together. I think this is gonna be a long video unless I just cut out so much stuff. I have 13 hours of me working on this car and it feels like I've accomplished so little besides taking more off the car. But that's just how the cookie crumbles. For now, I'm gonna set you right here and clean up this mess because it is absolutely horrendous. But with the snap of my fingers, it's clean. So satisfying, love doing that. Easy peasy, everything's clean. I can't believe it's such a hidden trade secret that if you're a YouTuber, you can snap your fingers and things just get done. Like I didn't even clean this. This just happened. Anywho, now that we're done cleaning, I want to get all of this out. I've said it 10 times, so let's get to it. I'm not sure the order stuff's gonna come apart, but I'm just gonna carry you along with me and unplug stuff until the wires come out. Okay, we gotta somehow take this fuse panel out, just like that. Just 4 little tabs on each corner. Super hard for me to work in here. So I'm guessing you guys aren't really seeing much. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, we got that corner out. It's nice, I can leave all those wires plugged in exactly where they were and just take the box out with it. Look, I've been prying with this thing so much. Just plastic, I don't know why it's bending so easy, but I gotta straighten this out quick. Easy peasy, straight and easy, as they say. I don't know where, but they say it. Okay, that's everything back here. Let's go inside. Now this is where I'll probably have to start. I don't really want to take out every tiny little module if I don't have to. Okay, I think this whole side is unplugged. We unplugged the seat belt, we unplugged the speaker, unplugged these. This goes out with the hatch. This side's a little more interesting. Well, I'm not super excited about this now. Okay, well, we're gonna have to figure out how we get this wiring out from the hatch. Okay, so that wiring comes up into here. Okay, well, to be honest, I couldn't really find anything online. Apparently not many people are moving their hatch.
Hi, it's me from the future. I'm gonna save you 10 minutes of your life and just tell you right now, the hatch, in order to take it off, you gotta cut the glass off. Now, I'm not gonna do that because last time I cut glass out, I shattered it. Well, it was already shattered, but I shattered it more. If you came here to solely know how to take the hatch out of a car, you gotta take the glass off, or I'll show you how I did it real quick.
Okay, well, this is a little bit crazy. I could only find one video of somebody taking off their Toyota rear hatch. And it was a TikTok. So they did not explain how to do it, but I noticed one thing in the video that gave me the answer I needed. And they took their glass off. Apparently, this plastic is like, it's attached to the hatch. It's probably super glued. It's probably super glued, which means I have an idea. My idea is I'm putting my hatch back together. But don't worry, I'm not giving up. No, never give up. Giving up is for giver-uppers. So let's talk about how I'm gonna get this hatch off. These wires can go out with the hatch. These wires are attached to the loom. I need the loom out because I'm going to replace the loom. I'm gonna have to cut these wires so that they can go out with the hatch. So I'm going to take all this tape off, mark the wires on both sides, 1 through, I don't know how many wires there are, with tape so that I know which wire goes to which, cut it, and then the wires can go out with the hatch. And then I will just splice the wires back together when it's time to put it back together. So that is the plan. Okay, here's our wires that go to our hatch, labeled 1 through 6 on both sides. So you see 6 and 6, and you cut right in the middle. Now I will know which of the 6 wires goes to which of the 6 wires. It'll be a little more complicated than that because I'm gonna have a whole new wire harness. So I'm gonna have to figure out which connector this goes to and then cut the other connector off the other side of the other harness. So it's gonna be kind of a pain in the butt, but it had to be done. So I'm gonna cut these and then probably ask my wife for help to get the hatch off. All right, now I got to pull the harness through now that it's cut. There we go. Okay, that's one side of the wiring out and the other side. Here we go. Okay, bolts are out. Now it should slide out. There we go. Whew, it's not that heavy actually. All right, hatch off, boys. All right, let's get this wiring out. All that work on the hatch was just for this wiring loom. It'll be nice to have it out of the way, that's for sure. Here we go. There we go. Now let's get all the wire over there. Oh yeah. What a task. You gotta pick this all up. Oh, that was easy. Oh God. Okay, speakers, seat belts, and the foam pad on each side. Let's get her. Boom. If I didn't take this car completely apart, there'd be so many rattles. Like there was a walnut shell in that subwoofer, and I promise you that it would have rattled. If I didn't take this car completely apart like this, I would have had to do it later. Okay, that's our 2 subwoofers. Okay, side speakers. Rear speakers, not side speakers, I don't know. There we go. Next up, this foam pad. So I just, boom. That side, free and clear. Side. Oh, let's go. Last but not least, the last major component left on this chassis, the driver's side door. And just like that, I'm tired, but happy. We did it. There is very, very, very little left on this chassis. There is some stuff left. There's the door strikers. There's the plastic pieces that hold on the side skirts. But if you were ever curious on what a Mark V Supra chassis looks like with nothing else on it, it's this. I mean, walking around it, I still can't believe it. Next video, probably take this quarter panel off. I want nothing more than to put this car together, but when I'm so deep, I need to make sure it's done right. I want you guys to know that it's done right. I want to know it's done right. I'm actually super happy that I gutted this entire car. I have found so many things that would have rattled when driving. Like, there was a shell, like a seashell, inside the subwoofer. The amplifier was barely held on, it would have rattled. There was some random emergency speaker underneath the dash that wasn't connected to anything, that would have been jostling around, and countless other things. I get to put this car back together completely, and if anything's broken or anything doesn't work, it's my fault, which is scary. On that note, I know that this video has been all over the place, and I know I started it off by saying we're gonna repair the frame, but the firewall needs to be pulled out, and that's just something I didn't know at the time. So I don't know what's gonna be in the next video, but I know we will make progress. Every video we make progress, even if it's disassembling the car. I had to do it to put the car back together correctly, and I'm so glad you guys were here. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all the things. It helps me more than you know, and I'll see you in the next one.